14, altimeter 2973. Remarks. Density altitude 2,700.
Well, welcome aboard. This is flight 172 from Austin, Minnesota to Austin, Minnesota. And we're just out for a little practice today. So I thought I would take you guys with me. Now you're sitting in the passenger seat looking at the instrument panel. And in a minute I'm going to move you over to the other side here so you can see what I see. What I thought would be kind of cool is if we went along together. A lot of times I think, you know, snowmobilers, they have other motorized activities that they like. Usually that amounts to stuff like motorcycles and ATVs and stuff like that. But I think more than likely there's a few of you out there that have an interest in aviation. Maybe some of you would like to get your pilot's license and don't really know what that's all about. So I kind of wanted to give you guys a snowmobiler's perspective on flying. This happens to be a 1976 Cessna 172. The model designation is 172M. And a long time ago, I did a pre-flight video on this exact airplane. At the time, I think I probably had all steam gauges, what we call round gauges. Since that time, the owner of the airplane, I rent this airplane, the owner of the airplane has put in a GPS, and then also these two instruments are linked to the GPS and can serve as one or the other, so they can switch back and forth depending on what you want them to do. Right now, this one is the artificial horizon, and this one is a kind of a gyroscopic compass. If you're a pilot, I just want to warn you ahead of time that you're going to see stuff that you're going to say, I would never do that. Well, it's really this video and doing this video wasn't to show you guys that I'm not perfect as a pilot, but rather I'm interested in seeing who out there is interested in aviation, and I think that a lot of you are interested, and really no time like the present to take up flying. The cost of fuel right now is going up, just with everything else. Aviation fuel, you can figure anywhere between $1 and $1.50 a gallon more than regular auto fuel. So it can be kind of expensive. A trip, 1 hour trip can cost you, this airplane right now, I think it's costing me like $120 an hour. So, going on a date or something like that can be pretty expensive. Anyway, let's see, we got to check the altimeter. I'm going to check that one more time.
3. Remarks. Density altitude 2,700. Austin Municipal Airport. Automated weather observation 239er. Zulu weather. Wind 29er. 0 at 9er. Visibility 10. Clear below 12,000. Temperature 23 Celsius. Dew point 14. Altimeter 29er. Remarks.
That's what I wanted to hear. So now both altimeters are set approximately the same. This says 1250, and this is about 1250. We're at 1,250 feet above sea level, and so that's the altimeter it reads above sea level, doesn't read above the ground. So, all right, I think you're probably staring into the sun. So let me move you here. All right, so I have a checklist here. Let's see, which one we got? Before taxi, I did that. Before takeoff, this is the one we want. Parking brake is set. That's this thing here. Oh, and I also have my feet on the brakes. The brakes in an airplane generally are the tops of the rudder pedals. So the rudder pedals move in and out like that, but they also tip. That's the brakes. So I've got so one brake on one wheel, one brake on the other wheel. I've got both brakes I'm pushing with my legs, so that don't go anywhere. A lot of times if you're busy, it'll creep forward on you, and this just makes sure that this kind of double checks to make sure that it doesn't go anywhere. All right, cabin doors and windows are locked. Oh, look at that. I've got a door that's not locked yet. Good thing I checked that. Elevator trim is set. Flight controls, we got to check that. So we always do that just to make sure there isn't some rag or something stuck in there. And I'm looking at the control surfaces to make sure that they're where they're supposed to be. So that was a full range of motion. Everything was fine. I didn't feel any problem whatsoever. Altitude, altimeters were both set. Artificial horizon, I checked it. I don't mess with that because this artificial horizon, the airplane actually squats down a little bit, and so you get a bad artificial horizon reading. If you try to line this up so that it's horizontal, you'll get a goofy reading. This airplane, I just leave it where it's at. Directional gyro, I just check it. Transponder code is set to 1200, and it is set to should be on an automatic on it. It says ground right now. I think that means it's on automatic. Fuel selectors on both. Mixture is full rich. Throttle to 1700. Let's do that. That's a little hard. I'm looking right into the sun, so it's a little hard to see the tachometer. Tachometer's right down here. There's 1700 right there. It doesn't have to be exact. Carb heat. If I put the carb heat on, I should get a drop because the air coming into the engine is warm. Magnetos. This thing has a magneto ignition from like the 1950s. All right, so we're on the left magneto. Okay, let's go to the right. At an 80 RPM, 85. All right, back to both. Run smooth. That amount of drop is maximum 100 RPM drop, and a maximum of 50 RPMs in between them. Okay, the ammeter is right here, and it doesn't show negative. Oil temperature is coming up. Oil pressure is up. Fuel on both tanks is full, and fuel flow meter. I don't generally worry too much about that. EGT looks good. Let's get this thing back to idle. All right, throttle friction adjust. Pitot heat is off. Strobe lights. I did turn on all of the lights. Landing lights is required. It's daylight, so I don't need to worry about that. Pilot takeoff briefing. Parking brake. Let's release that and then get turned around, and I'll tell you what we're going to do. All right, so I like to, before I go flying, I like to make sure I understand kind of where I'm at and what's about to happen, just so that I mentally prepare. We are going to go out and practice some maneuvers, and that's what I wanted to show you is kind of what it was like to fly. I'd like to think that a lot of people watching this are interested in aviation, started with aviation. And this is, I'm not here to teach you anything. I'm here to show you what it's like, all right? All right, there's a double yellow line out there. Maybe you can't see it, but it's out there. That's my hold short line. So from there, I look, nobody coming. I don't hear anybody on the radio. Austin traffic, Skyhawk 89 uniform taking off runway 35, departing to the north, Austin traffic. Like that, and we're off. And just because I looked and there wasn't anybody there doesn't mean there isn't somebody there. Crop dusters come in here and they come in low and they don't have a radio. So you got to watch for them. This is the time of the year, although with the wind the way it is, they shouldn't be flying today, but you never know. All right, counteract the wind. All right, here we go. There's definitely a wind there. Pushing me around.
84 is 4 miles to the south.
50 knots.
Left
55, 60, up we go, 65. And it's bumpy. 70, I really want to see 75. Alright, I think the wind is stronger than the weather forecast lets on. Because I've got a pretty good crab going. I got 80 knots. We're at 1,500 feet. That light means nothing. Got a good climb going, what, 800, 900 feet per minute. That's really good. 172. 75 knots is about perfect. And we're about 500 feet above the ground. Lower the nose just a little bit to pick up some speed. At my right leg, I'm pushing down on the right rudder to keep the airplane going straight. For acceleration, the airplane wants to kind of veer off to the left, and I don't want to let it.
Owatonna traffic, Midday 84 is left downwind for runway 30, Owatonna.
All right, we're 1,000 feet above the ground. Just go up a little higher. So, skills that you need to practice as a pilot. You need to practice turns. You need to practice.
For runway 35,
Practice turns. You need to practice holding an altitude. You need to practice figuring out where you are. Even, you know, pulling G's. You think, and for me, pulling G's is like, you know, between 1.5 and 2 G's, but even that can be disorienting if you're not used to it. All right, so we got roughly 3,500 feet, not climbing, 90. Let's do a pretty aggressive turn, okay? So here we go. There's 30 degrees of bank. There's 45, and gaining a little altitude. This is the tough part of a 45-degree turn, is you're either gaining altitude or you're losing altitude. It never seems like holding altitude is really difficult. And there's west. Hello, sun. All right, there's a full 360-degree turn. Let's go the other way. There's 45. Trying to keep the ball centered. What can you do with a pilot's license? Well, you can fly around. What I'll do is, I don't usually go a lot of places. I have taken an airplane to other towns to visit people or to go to see certain things. Well, there's what pilots refer to as a $100 hamburger, where basically you find an airport that has a restaurant and you fly in, have a meal, and then fly home. A lot of times people do that. I give quite a few rides. There are people that use airplanes for business or leisure travel. Like I said, I I haven't gotten into it. I think one of the main reasons is because I'm a renter. I don't own my own airplane, so it's not like I can just take off and take the plane and I got nobody to answer to. This airplane, they want it back. Somebody else is going to rent it. So if I'm gone for more than a day, I better have a good reason, you know. But like I said, I've gone on a few trips to different towns, visit people, and you know, spend the day someplace, go to an air show. Okay, so we did a stall. We did some sharp turns, steep turns they call them, and let's go back and see if we can land, shall we? Austin traffic, Skyhawk 89 uniform, turning left downwind for runway 35, Austin. So we are set to land. I got 70 knots. And the wind is pretty stout. It's actually pushing me. Boy, I can tell that because I've got a road here to kind of line up on. All right, so we got to be careful of that on final. And I'm across from the edge of the runway, so now we start to descend. I want to see some flaps, so let's put out good 10 degrees of flaps. The airplane wants to pitch up when I do that.
Untitled Chapter. Untitled Chapter down at 1089 miles, 10 miles south. Be the full stop landing for runway 30.
Alright, and no hurry to descend, so I'm just going to extend a bit.
What's on the traffic, Cessna 770 uniform and a left downwind for 30. What's on it?
I know that my base turn, this turn, is going to be going with the wind. I know that's going to go fast, so play that a little bit because I'm high. Austin traffic, Skyhawk 89 uniform is turning left base for runway 35, Austin. All right, as soon as I got the turn done here, I'm going to go notch of flaps. For 172, flaps are an aid. They're not a necessity. Okay, we're in a crab for 35. Austin traffic, Skyhawk 89 uniform, final for 35, full stop, Austin. I will leave the flaps where it's at. 65 knots, which is fine for a 172. 172 slows down really easy. The only problem with the 172 is it likes to float. So if you have a problem with your airspeed close to the ground, all of a sudden you'll find out it's like, okay, I'm going to land. And the airplane says, no, you're not. Oh, like that. There's some float right there. Oh yeah. Flaps up, carb heat off. What'd you think? What'd you think of your first flight? You could do this, right? Yes, you could. You could do this. Should. It's a lot of fun. And thanks for coming along. Thanks for sticking with me. And, you know, if I don't get to see you on the trail, hopefully I'll see you at the airport.